Driving Culture 4, this is Hypebeast Radio. Today we're sitting down with Patrick, owner of Vintage T-Shirts Showroom St. Louis. They're currently based out in Los Angeles and New York City. Schedule visits by appointment only. Their clients include Kanye West, Frank Ocean, A$AP Rocky. Pat, how's it going today?
Pretty good, man. Excited. Flying to San Francisco today, go buy T-shirts.
Cool. So I think a good place to start would be if you could tell our listeners just how you first got into the business, as well as take us through your collaboration with Chapel of God with Jerry Lorenzo, and also to where you are today.
That is a big story. How I got started, it's kind of by accident. It's not like I set out to be a vintage T-shirt dealer to the world. I loved music. And I would spend money on this when I had a regular job. This is all I spent my money on.
So it was all music tees.
Yeah, and it's mostly because that's what people like. But I don't care if it's a music tee. I don't care if it's a Harley tee. I don't care if it's like 80s T-shirt that the guy who you weren't supposed to hang around with who tore flies off or wings off of flies. Don't hang around with that Timmy because he's wearing a T-shirt that says "Death Before Dishonor," and it's say one of those '80s army tees or something like that that has skulls all over it. I don't really care what it is as long as it just makes you look cool. It could be I have a T-shirt that says parental explicit lyrics on it. That tee is just as cool to me as a Tupac tee.
But what do you look for exactly?
It's a life is about references, and it's about stories. It's about collecting stories, your own stories. So what I look for is those things that I think other people are will trigger something in themselves. I have this T-shirt that's a Double Dare T-shirt from the old Nickelodeon show where they slime people, like that. I can't sell that shirt. I could probably get enough money to pay my rent selling that shirt, but that shirt is my shirt. It's hard to explain. It's like trying to explain balance. You go to the left, you go to the right. Well, it's an experience. It's something that you feel. And so what I look for, I guess, is, not to be too cheesy, but a feeling is what I'm searching for. I'm not searching for a Tupac tee. I'm searching for a feeling.
Gotcha. Cool. So you've been doing this for quite some time. I recall you telling me about a story and when you first initially started selling T-shirts with that Black Flag T-shirt.
Oh, yeah. When I got arrested 4 times or 3 times in 4 days in Soho. I started, when I moved to New York, I started selling at the vintage flea markets around town. There was one that was great in the Lower East Side. If you've been around New York for a while, then you'll know that Lower East Side flea market in the parking lot of the church. And then I just, somebody invited me to this guy that I met who used to make hats, invited me to sell on the street next to him in Soho. He's like, you should come on the street and sell with me next to Soho. Then you could sell during the week. And so I did, and I killed it. I made more in that first day than I usually would make in a whole weekend at any of those markets. And I'm like, this is where I'm going to be every single day. And I had set up at the corner of Prince and Mercer and what used to be the L'Occitane store. Now it's Nespresso, right across from the Prada store. And that was where people found me. I had everyone from my local bartender from Dive Bar, the library that I used to live at, to huge celebrities coming by for me just on street. And that was one of the funnest times still that I've ever had, doing what I do, is just setting up as a street merchant every day at like 8 a.m. till the sun went down. That was fun. I got to meet hundreds of people every day, and like that's what this is all about for me, is meeting people anyhow. Like just the interaction, relationships, continuing the story of the shirt. Once a new person's bought the shirt, then they get to continue that story. Like T-shirts have their own personalities to me, especially ones that are beat up and well worn. And so it's like trying to match. It's like matchmaking. It's like trying to find just the right piece just for you. Like getting to know who you are and then going and finding out what's your perfect piece. Like I got to do that every day over and over again. And it was like the best job I ever had.
Cool. So, if you could explain, like, how you met Jerry Lorenzo and then how you guys worked on Chapel of God, how that happened.
That's a weird one to tell. Details that are just like friendship stuff. But let me see. All right. Well, I first met Jerry when Danielle, I think we're way past her getting in trouble for it anymore. Danielle, who's now Kim's stylist assistant, she was working for Rennie, who was Kanye's stylist, when she used to work for Rihanna's stylist, and she used to come and do pulls for me. So for Rihanna's stylist, and when Rihanna and Kanye and Paul McCartney did the one music video together, Rihanna's team sent over Kanye's team samples of what they were like, photos of what like looks. And Rennie said out loud, "Where the fuck does she get all these vintage T-shirts from?" And Danielle, who had pulled for me before, was like, "Oh, I know where," but didn't say that to her. Called me because she was specifically told that she can't tell anyone about me. So Danielle calls me and says, "Hey, I don't want to get in trouble, but can I give Kanye's stylist your number? Like, I'm not supposed to tell anyone about you, and I don't want it to get back to the other person that I was the one who gave the number out." And I was like, "Yeah, it's cool, thanks." Well, I mean, it's a funny. Trust me, dude, it's a funny story to tell. I'm like, that's just my situation, I suppose. So Rennie says, "Hey, we need T-shirts for this video. Can you come like now?" I'm like, I'm in Los Angeles, but I guess I could fly to New York tomorrow to bring these T-shirts. I'm like, yeah, because we need them tomorrow. And so I take the red eye, I land, and I go straight to Kanye's place in Soho. And I'm downstairs with Rennie, and we've got all the T-shirts out in the lobby. And it's like 7 a.m, and the video is going to be, they're going to film the video in a couple hours. And Kanye walks out to go to breakfast, and he didn't walk right by us, but like we were like all the way across the lobby, and he could have just, walked way out of his way, but I guess something caught his eye, and he walked over to us, and he's like, "What's all this stuff?" I'm like, and Rennie's like, "This is Patrick. This is the guy that Rihanna gets all his tees from." And he's like, "Oh, show me some stuff." And then I start showing him T-shirts, and he's like, "What's in that bag?" Because I always have a bag that's the special stuff that we look at that last. I'm like, oh,
well, Kanye wanted that
this
first.
This is stuff that I don't bring out because some of it's possibly really offensive. So are you ready to see that right now? It's like, yeah, show me. So then I start pulling the stuff out of the bag, and there's this one Rodney King riot T-shirt that Ice-T had made, like right after the riots. It said, "We treat you NYPD, LAPD, we treat you like a king." And it's like, I don't know, man. Can you wear that? I mean, it's like it's gonna piss some people off. And it's like, yeah, I want that. Bring that one. And then he said, and then at the end, right before leaving, he's like, "Man, how's everything? Everything is good here." And I was like, "Well, do you want to mess with second best?" I know I don't. Like, why? And he laughed. He threw his head back. He was like, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, I like that. All right, man, I got to go. Well, but what I really liked about him, like, he introduced himself, and he absolutely knows exactly what he wants when he sees it. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's good, that's good, that's good. Yeah, take those, not that one.
Dope. Yeah, so I imagine that you met Jerry then through Kanye.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Kanye started buying a lot of shirts for me, and then Jerry, one time Danielle came and got a bunch of T-shirts, and I told her, do not show this one first. This is really, it's the one long sleeve Nirvana Kurt tee that he always wears. It's like, do not show him that last. I even put it in a separate bag and handed that to her and said, do not show this until last. She shows it to him first, and he's like, and she said that he said, why do I even need to look at anything else? Nothing could possibly be better than this tee. I'll take this one. You send the rest back. So I guess Jerry was in the room at the time, and on the way back to when Danielle's like saying, hey, sorry, Danielle calls me. He's like, sorry. I showed it to him first, and now he doesn't want to get anything else. And I'm like, I told you that's why you don't show him that one first.
Yeah.
But right as I was still on the phone, Jerry calls me and is like, hey, I want to get the rest of those shirts. And I had met Jerry once before, but it wasn't like we didn't like talk a whole lot. And he came over, we talked, he was looking at all the shirts. He's like, yeah, man, I want to get all these shirts. It's like, yeah, of course, go ahead. They're all for sale. And then he wanted me to deliver them the next day to one of his drops because he didn't have enough cash on him. It was kind of a big number. And when I dropped the T-shirts off and saw the big long line, that's when I finally started to understand all of that world. I was like, I didn't get it before, and I didn't get what Jerry did before that. Him and I have talked about that a lot. I thought like, oh, great, he's gonna print on these T-shirts, and I thought, like, to me, because I'm such a purist, it bothered me. But when I saw it in context, the whole thing, the line, the kids, the fans, even all of the Fear of God T-shirts on. This was at Union, and Jerry took me in, and then I saw all of the shirts on a rack that said Fear of God, and I was like, oh, I get it now, because it's not for me to understand. Like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's and that's fine. It's for them, and that's when I like okay, I really respect Jerry. Like, he created something. Like, this thing was nothing before. It was just a Marilyn Monroe T-shirt, and then he put Fear of God on it with like a purpose and a concept, and everyone came to meet his vision and support him in it with this big long line outside to buy a Fear of God T-shirt. I was like, I get it now. And that's when we started really talking. And I was like, I didn't know Jerry was the guy who made these things. It was just like a guy who wanted to come and buy T-shirts. And then when I saw it all, I was like, wow, I've got to respect that. I mean, that just doesn't come out of nowhere. You know, that comes from a passion, and he loves what he does. Like, he absolutely loves what he does and doesn't care what anyone thinks. And that's something you should pay attention to. But not like the hype around it, like that passion. And that's how, that was a very, very long way to tell that story. But, like, I don't know, the context of it was important to me, because before I wasn't into what he did, and it was after that I saw it all together that I was like, oh, I understand. I'm not supposed to understand. and that's how the friendship started.
Do you see like what he does as a huge departure from, say, what you do, even though, you know, there's similar threads in terms of the clothes?
Well, it's like we're starting off on one corner in the neighborhood, and then we're both trying to get to the same place, but we go about it with completely different ways. Like, you know, I'm jumping over fences and going through alleys.
Literally.
And Jerry's just, you know, took another route around the block to get to the same place. Do we do the same thing? Well, not the same place. We don't do the same thing at all. But it's like, you know, peanut butter and jelly. The Chapel of God thing worked because he had never done what I do, which is the destruction and the resurrection of the pieces, and I had never printed on a T-shirt before, and so it was kind of scary for both of us. I would show him some of the T-shirts that I destroyed. He was like, his eyes would get really wide, like, really? I'm like, yeah, man, yeah, this is it. This is the one. He's like, dude, I love it, but do you think people will get it? And I'm like, they don't. The one person will. Yeah. And that's all we're going for anyhow. And then the Chapel of God thing happened. I mean, and, you know.
And you keep calling it, I mean, you know, even with us, you keep calling it destroyed. You know, why is it not distressed? Why is it not?
It's just not a big enough word, distressed. Distressed means, or when I hear the word distressed, I hear somebody giving something an industrial wash, or sitting down with razor blades and sandpaper to like make something look distressed. You know, like it's not enough. Like, I was watching Top Gun last night. And, you know, like pushing the envelope, like we're gonna teach you how to fly that MiG closer to the envelope than you've ever flown it before, closer to the edge than you've ever flown it before. Well, like, if I'm not in danger of utterly and completely destroying the shirt and making it go away, then like, what's the fun? What's the fun in being safe? Distressing is safe. Like, what I do isn't safe. I've destroyed T-shirts that I could have sold it in the state that it was in for like $1,000, $2,000, right. And I was like, it's not there yet. And so I say destroy because just distress just isn't enough. Yeah, it's never enough. I'm always searching, trying to push the envelope, it sounds cheesy to say push the envelope, but that's my reference. So yeah, distress just isn't a big enough word. Destroying, you know, the whole idea of we're talking about like Christian symbology and destroying the temple of God and rebuilding it in 3 days. Like, all these ideas are. Well, I'm not religious now. I was really, really religious growing up, and so these ideas of something bigger than myself, or the shirt being more bigger than it was. Like, we're not like a Christian because we're good people, you know. You're a Christian because you believe in something outside of yourself, a bigger yourself. So one of the reasons why I named it St. Louis, besides being after my son, was the idea of believing in something bigger than myself. So not to get too philosophical about it, but that is exactly actually what it is. Just there's got to be more, and not more like I need more. I mean more in we can always do better. Like, I can do better. I can be better. I can be a better person. I can make a better product. I can do better. Like that's what it's about. So that's why I say destroy and not distress.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this process, I mean, it also helps you stand out from like fast fashion companies that are doing the same thing, where they're like selling vintage T-shirts that aren't exactly vintage. It's just like reprints.
Yeah, I even try not to use the word vintage too much. I inevitably have to use it, but like, again, it's about something being more than it is. It's more than just a vintage T-shirt. It's more than just distressing. It's more than just, it's what's the best something could possibly be. And that's what I want in my closet. And that's what I think people want to be the best version of themselves who can. That's why we have Instagram and everything else. Everyone wants to put forward the best that they can, and that's I try and help them do that.
And do you think of your teas and your products as a new type of style or a new type of product beyond something?
I didn't
from before?
invent a destroyed vintage tea. I don't have that much of an ego. Like, but as a look, like it was.
It's definitely really unique.
As a like fashion trend, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, there are lots of people who will just buy the hype, but it's there's the people who are selling hype pieces, and there are people who are like who actually really care about the stuff. Which is again what I really love about what Jerry does, because he really cares about it. So I don't really. I just want people to not be lazy in whatever they put out. Like put out a good product. Like give people what they want, but like give them the best version of that you're capable of. Like not to stir the pot, but like Vetmonts, I'm sorry, I've got like very little respect for those guys. It's just because I know they can do better. Like plastic zippers on a Dr. Martin, like those Dr. Martin, like really, like a plastic zipper. Like come on! Like for one, I was doing that in like 1989, and I wasn't even the one who invented that. Like that was my older cousins who are old punk rockers, Like I copied that from their docs that they had in the early 80s, because I couldn't fit theirs. So I, had to do it to my own. Like give me quality. Charge me, but give me quality. Like don't give me a plastic zipper and try and charge me $1,200. Like come on.
Speaking of Vetmont, I mean, like, what are your thoughts on their Snoop Dogg tea? I remember like last year it blew up everywhere because
really
it's
gonna get me in trouble.
just like an honest opinion.
Well, like they copied that from a tea that they got from a client of mine, and it's like it's just I mean even the way they printed it was like I don't like it's all seems so low quality to me. Like it seems like very strip mall-y clothes, and not even that good. I don't want to talk too much shit, but it's like that Snoop Dogg tee was. Okay, here's the good thing I could say about the Snoop Dogg tee is they made a point, and it was $900 for brand new fake vintage tee. Without that tee, I don't think it would have pushed it the way that it is right now. Like, oh God, I don't even know what to say about that. That stirs so many different things and thoughts in my mind, that Snoop Dogg tee. I didn't like it. It's like, not because they're like moving in on my territory or not. It's not my territory. I just wanted them to give us something better if they're going to charge us $900. Like, I think it was, I would really actually like to know why. Like why? It's like the product was subpar. So I don't think, I don't think it deserved a $900 price point. Like, charge me $900. Like, please put a T-shirt in front of me that's brand new that I want to pay $900 for. That was not it. That's what I can say about it.
Yeah, I do feel like there was like, a lack of connection with the brand. It's like they're a European brand and they did a Snoop Dogg T-shirt. It's like they could have did any musician, but then they did Snoop Dogg. So, but yeah, I feel like the benefit of
they
that.
did it because Kanye wore it.
Exactly.
And I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's great that he wears a Sade tee, and then people like search out Sade or Testament or Cannibal Corpse. Like, he's opening up a world of music that nobody else would even bother Googling. Like, if you saw a person who actually likes Cannibal Corpse walking down the street and you're into Kanye's music, you're probably not going to pay that person attention. But if you see Kanye wearing that shirt, you're going to be like, well, what the hell's that all about? And you're going to go Google it. And I appreciate that, although the reason Kanye's wearing it is because of
the graphics.
The reference. He's appropriating this thing and making the imagery his. And it's like, white people have been doing that to black music since the beginning of black music. So, like, why not turn the tables on white people and take their Iron Maiden, Slayer, Cannibal Corpse, or whatever other thing and make it his? Mm-hmm. I actually totally respect that. Like, wearing it, he doesn't wear things ironically. He's not trying to be ironical about something. He's like, I love the imagery of this. This fits in completely to his megalomania and living iconoclast status. Like, that he can wear a Kurt Cobain tee, and somehow it's not a Kurt Cobain tee anymore. It's weird. It's like, or that's how I look when I see him wearing like a Kurt tee. It's like it's almost like he's wearing his own tee, which is again another reason why I respect him. Like, he just owns it.
Because he's kind of able to change that
Context.
Sort of meaning of it, Same way you were saying about the Jerry, he's able to take these T-shirts and then have his whole meaning to it and a whole following.
Context is everything.
Yeah. So I mean, I have
art. That's what art is.
Yeah.
That they are both modern day. It's very Warholian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, it's the art isn't just the art anymore. The art is also now everything surrounding the artist. I was watching a documentary last night about the Brillo box, and now the story of that piece isn't even just that it's a Warhol, it's even who owned it. So why not a $900 Snoop Dogg tee? I absolutely do respect that they did it. Like, it opened up people's eyes, even mine. Whether even I liked the product or not, I'm not the one who sold a $900 reprinted Snoop Dogg tee. They did. So they're the ones who get to have the victory. Like, I might be talking a little shit on it, but also they did something. There's a lot of people who like to criticize, but like, come on, get on the. If you're going to criticize, then actually be doing something. Like, you can criticize Jerry or me or Kanye or Vetmont when you've actually are doing something. So, I'm sure I have a lot of my own critics out there too. So, I mean, I can't.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I feel like the direct benefit of, Vetmont Snoop Dogg tee is that people began to then look at vintage T-shirts, like, as luxury pieces. Because it's like, if you're going to pay $900 for Vetmont's reprint, then it's like, what should you actually pay for the original Snoop Dogg T-shirt? Yeah. And it, like, adds some sort of, like, just appreciation towards, the original designs of these rap T-shirts, or just music tees in general.
Yeah, well, I definitely don't hate the attention that that my business has got, or even just vintage tees in general. Like, I mean, I really don't care if you get a T-shirt from somewhere else. Just make sure you're getting what you should be getting for you. Like, that's all I really care about. Like, I mean, I don't get pissed off when I see someone wearing a really good T-shirt on the street. You know, I'm going to go up to them and go, where the hell did you get that? That's cool. Mm-hmm. Or not even where the hell did you get it, just like how I met a friend of mine, Tremaine, in A-Side. Like, I met them because Tremaine was wearing, which is still the sickest Wu-Tang T-shirt I've ever seen. And it was a Ghostface Killer tee. No, it was a Ghostface Killer? Yeah, it was a Ghostface Killer tee. And I'd never seen anything that good. And it wasn't even just that it was a Wu-Tang tee. It was that it just fit and hung on him perfectly. It was like he had owned that since the 90s. And so I just went up to him and was like, oh my God, dude, and it looks killer on you. It's perfect. And we just started talking, and then he came over, bought some T-shirts, but then we stayed at my place listening to records for about 2-3 hours. Like, you know, that's what it's all about. Like, those moments. And again, I always answer questions with stories about other stories. But I guess it's just my way. Sorry. Don't know if I answered it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, you just now you said you talk about how you see how it fits on people, the T-shirts, and then you envision shirts on people, or you put them on different people and try them out on models and stuff like that. You know, do you think that's more important even than the connection that people have?
Well, not models, just friends. Like, maybe some of them will happen to have the job of that, but it's just, yeah, like when I get new pieces in, I have friends come over and try them on so I can see what they look like on different people, because what might look really good on me might not look really good on you. I've talked people out of buying $1,000 Nirvana tees because I didn't think it looked good on them. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, take this other one, man. Trust me, I promise. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like, you got to wear it. Like, if you are buying the hype, then still make sure it looks good on you.
Yeah. And so, do you have any type of, I guess, preconception of if people have a real connection with what's on the shirts, or, you know, do you think of it more also, you know, with the clientele that you have and all that, as just fashion pieces in a sense as well?
Well, okay. I'm from Cali. I'm wearing a Red Hot Chili Peppers T-shirt. Red Hot Chili Peppers is not my favorite band, but I love the way this shirt looks on me. And I'm from Cali. I do have like an actual connection to the band. Mm-hmm. They were one of the first shows I ever saw, 1990, when I started high school. Well, 89 I started high school, and then I saw them in 90. So, I mean, you know, yeah, like I have a connection, so I love wearing the shirt, but I also have blank shirts that I wear just as much as I do any of my rock tees.
Right.
And it's just about a feel. It's here's how I want to say that. Whatever way you connect to the piece is the way you connect to the piece. Mm-hmm. Like, if whether it's because you love Harleys, whether it's because you love the band on the tee, or whether it's just because you look in the mirror and you go, this particular faded blank tee goes perfectly with this particular Chanel bag. Mm-hmm. Or, I mean, if we're talking designer, or this particular shoe, or these pants, or whatever. Like, it's all about fashion. Like, if you strip away the band and everything else, or like, I mean, you might be wearing an Iron Maiden tee, but it's again, if it doesn't look good on you, you're not going to wear that Iron Maiden tee again, no matter how much you love that band. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think, like, you know, just going back to a conversation that we've had off the air, where, you know, you were just basically talking about how these like, you know, clients that you have or friends that you have that you know, sell T-shirts to, that you try to see what they're genuinely passionate about, or just like, you know, wearing something that was already theirs, you know? And then with that being said, you know, it's like if you're going to go out and get this T-shirt, vintage T-shirt for $500, $600, and you're just doing it more so for the look, then it's like, why not just go ahead and get the cheaper alternative? You know, if it's not about what you're genuinely passionate about. I wanted to know your thoughts, like, you know, on trying to seek that authenticity, like, you know, how, like, and, you know, like how you have that ring true through your business model as well.
All right. So how do I find the authenticity? It's like if you come over, if you come over to the showroom and we start looking at T-shirts, I have to really be paying attention. Like, I start noticing what lights you up. Like, is it when you see a Sade tee? Is it when you just see the perfect fit? It's just like, it's listening. It's like really listening to my client. Like, and it's not like necessarily an interview. It's me just like looking at them when their hand touches a certain piece. How do their eyes like get big? Does it strike a chord with them? Is it whether it's just again the perfect fade? Because what might turn on one person about a thing might not turn on the other person about a thing. Is it just because that's their favorite color in the world? Is it because they love skulls? Is it? I mean, you know, whatever. All you really have to do is look at someone's body language when they're looking at the rack, and I can tell. It's like, and then I mean, I have an idea. Like if I've never met you before, but I've already got ideas of what I want to put like you in on my rack. So it's hard. It's a hard thing to describe. It's just, I mean, like, is it a 1, 2, 3 step formula? Like, I don't think so. It's just all kind of happens in the moment. It's like a, not to get too overly hoity-toity about it, like or snobby about it. It's a dance between me and the client, and sometimes you have a really good dance partner. Sometimes, you know, you have to work with your dance partner. You're just finding, I don't know, it's so hard to describe. It's just finding the right piece for them. It's like saying, just be happy if you're depressed or something. Mm-hmm. It's a process, and it's working with that person. I don't know how else to describe it, because with each person who comes over, it's different. Like, sometimes it's effortless, and sometimes it takes a lot of work to get to that right piece. There you go. That's how I want to say that.
Awesome.
So it took me a long time, but I got there.
All right, great. So talk about, like, you know, the connection that comes with what you do, because would you consider yourself a T-shirt like dealer, so to say?
I mean, yeah, like, we can all break our jobs down to like adjust something. Like, I don't mind it if people cut me down and say I'm just a vintage T-shirt dealer. Like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. Like, thank you. I love that. I love what I do. You know, you can say you just work for a magazine, but man, like, you could tell that you love what you do. Like, you know, like, that's like just, or at the very least, take pride in what you do. You know, the whole idea of being the best street sweeper, janitor, garbage person you can. Well, that's all I ever tried to do, is just do the best that I can possibly do. Like, before anyone ever bought a T-shirt from me, that's what I was doing for myself.
Yeah, and I say that to say this, because I just wanted to know, like, you know, just your thoughts on if you prefer what, you know, the current way that you carry out business, but more so than, like, you know, just opening up an online shop to where you don't have that connection that you were talking about earlier.
Well, if it gets on my rack, it's a pretty special piece in some way. There's something special about it. Again, fit, wear, color, something like this. So the product is always going to be good. It won't be. It's not like so much like a miss in the dark. Say like buying something off of Etsy or eBay or Instagram, and you get it, and it's just like the way that I present it. I try and present it in a way so that you can see the way that it's going to fit you, like the way that I shoot the tees, so you can see the drape properly, so that you can see the color. I don't like to edit the photos so you really see what you're getting. I mean, but that's fine. It's a sale, but there's nothing like when you come in, like unless you really know what you love. Like if you really know you just love Tupac, then God, by all means, buy Tupac from me or from someone else on eBay or Instagram. But when you want that, like when you want that true bespoke feeling or that true like special treatment, then that's when you want to come in. I'll always prefer when someone comes in. I don't care if you're famous. I don't care if you've got a lot of money or not. Just to come in and let's work together. Like every client I have, is a collaboration. Like every client I have, it's that working towards perfection. You know, again, that's why I called it St. Louis. It's about giving our best, and even my clients, they give their best to me when they come in. They're like, "Hey, help me look cool, man. Like, help me step out of myself. Help me be the best version of me that I can." So when they come in, this is a collaboration. I can't do that without their help. You know, if you dance with someone who's like fighting you, that doesn't work. Like when a client comes in and the more they give themselves to me, the better that I could do for them. Like, I love dancing. Like it's all about the music. It's all about dancing. And so to me, every time a client comes in, it's a new chance to dance. As cheesy as that sounds, it's very, very true and real for me.
Yeah. So describe your day to day, from hunting to the process that you do to each shirt, and then to making these hand to hand transactions. Like, what does that look like?
So first thing I do when I wake up is usually think about my son. And then I start thinking about vintage tees, and I'm like, what do I have right now? Or what's out there? It's like, I haven't seen this dealer in a while. My mind immediately goes to music, sun, vintage t-shirts. I put on some music that I need that day. It could be anything from, Isley Brothers to Suicidal Tendencies to Operation Ivy to Luther Vandross. I mean, wherever. And then I just start letting myself think about, process. I've never sat down and thought about my process, honestly. I like being ambiguous. I like answering a question with a question. I like questioning myself. I like everything about what I do. I hate everything about what I do. It's a struggle. It's like it's constantly trying to do better, and I'm totally lost my own story right now.
Do you have?
It's hard to answer that question because I don't like answering it.
Yeah.
Like once I define myself, then you can point and go, 1, 2, 3, A plus B equals C is the hypotenuse of the something. Then I'm science. Mm-hmm. Then I'm math, and I don't want to be science or math. So I'm sorry that I didn't really answer the question, but it's like I have a process. Yeah, the process is always trying to push myself. That's it. Like it's my process is do whatever I have to do so no one beats me. Mm-hmm. I will not be beaten in this. I will not be beaten in anything. I will let someone break one of my ribs so that I don't lose a fight. I will jump the fence before they've let any of the dealers into the flea market so that I could be the first one there. I will do whatever it takes to not be beat. That's my process.
Mm-hmm. I remember you said 10,000 hours.
10,000
hours of
well, there's a saying. It's like to be a master of something, you have to do something for 10,000 hours. Mm-hmm. I'm way past that with vintage T-shirts.
Yeah.
I've seen hundreds of thousands of vintage T-shirts have passed through these hands.
You've been to a lot of different places.
Yeah, and then I've also lived through them. Yeah. Like I graduated high school in '93, so I saw Fugazi in 1989. I saw the Ramones 3 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I've saw the Violent Femmes when they were a band. I saw De La Soul play my high school grad night at Magic Mountain. Like I've had the chance to buy a lot of these shirts new.
Yeah.
So and like I've just I have the context of history on my side.
Yeah, and you do, and you have personal connection clearly with a lot of the bands and stuff. But as time moves on, those vintage tees and those bands are old and more obsolete, and the new wave of people that want to wear it might not know anything about these bands or have never heard of them. How do you think that's going to kind of progress or go?
Well, there's a point when we're kids, right, where we think we're the first one who ever heard a Beatles song, mm-hmm. or Kanye, or Kanye's current, but like we're the first people who, like, I remember when I found one summer I spent a lot of time at my Aunt Christine's and my Uncle Junior's house, and my Aunt Christine had a ton of records in the garage with one of those all-in-one record tape amp radio things. So it's like cheap plastic little record player, and I just started. I remember going through the albums and just being fascinated by the covers at first. David Bowie, I remember David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust. I remember like, what is this guy? It looks weird. I think I was in 5th grade, so I'm what, 10, 11. And the Beatles' White Album. I'm like, why is it all white? Why isn't there an image on this one? And then I started listening to the records, and then I remember not understanding While My Guitar Gently Weeps, but it moving me, and that song still moves me. And the whole album of like Ziggy Stardust, and also but the album the Who Quadrophenia, I listened to that album over and over and over and over again, and I would look at the cover of the main character from the movie standing in the alley with his parka and his mod suit and his Vespa behind him, and just like, how did this come about? I'm just a kid in a garage looking at records, and it's all brand new to me. Like it had just come out. So being distant from, say, Nirvana, like kids, when I see young kids being really, really into Nirvana and Kurt Cobain and the whole like cult of it, it's I don't think that it's irrelevant. I don't think that some music just isn't dated because it's so personal and authentic, like Nirvana's music. It's so just absolute. Like, they didn't set out. Not that I know. It's like not like I knew them, but I don't. it seems to me that they didn't set out to be the biggest band in the world. They just set out to make the best music that they could. Mm-hmm. You know, and that never will be dated. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In clothing,
right,
music, art.
Yeah. Music-wise, do you feel like do you find any artists like carrying that same passion, you know, today?
Who's gonna have a vintage tee of them
yeah.
in decades?
That's a good question.
Okay, so.
Well, wait, not to cut you off, but all right, if you were to buy a T-shirt now and then keep it for like say 10 years later, like which artists would you do so for, and why?
Not many. Okay, I would buy. It's funny, like even as I say, like I would buy a Kendrick T-shirt, because that album, fuck me, man. Like, when was the last time you heard an album that every song was good like that? When was the like? I don't even like. I was never a Kendrick fan, not because I didn't like his music, just I didn't really listen to it. And then you just play the first song on that album, and then you just let the next song play, like the next song, and the next one is good. It's like a Ramones album. Like you just can't take it off. Like the music, it just one goes into the next song so perfectly that it's like it blows me away. Like, so I would love a Kendrick T-shirt that just said "damn" and that's it. But he hasn't made that T-shirt. So I don't know. I guess. God, I don't know how to answer that question because I don't really pay attention a lot to.
You mentioned being a fan of
there.
Frank.
I'm sorry. What's
that? Yeah, you mentioned being a fan of Frank. Would that be like another artist?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look at any of Frank's merch when I saw him at FYF, but man, I would love to get my hands on doing Frank's merch. But like, it's weird because it's like. Frank and Kendrick, like for me, their music just blowing me away, and I haven't been that into new music in a long time. Mm. That I wish their merch was as good as their music. I just don't think it is.
Is it also kind of just difficult to pin down because you don't know until after? You know, say for a Sade HT or a Janet T or something like that. Is it something where people know in the moment, or is it way after and they realize?
Well, it's a very different thing to buy and make a new tee than to buy a vintage tee. I like the vintage. Like part of a vintage tee is someone bought it and wore it for 20 years, and wore it down to look destroyed by living 20 years of their life in a shirt. There's nothing that looks like that. You can't replicate 20 years of something existing and being worn. You can get close, but you can't make. It's like looking at a T-shirt that someone wore for 20 years is like it's anthropology. So a brand new tee, you can't do that because it's brand new. It's only got it's got no history. It's got no story.
Right.
So I don't know. I think looking back, it seems to me like Frank is going to really change something in music. So I've got to think that no matter what, his T-shirts are going to be cool. Now, I never wanted to sell a Spice Girls T-shirt, but now Spice Girls T-shirt, like even early 2000 T-shirts are like, I sell more Mariah Carey Spice Girls T-shirts than just about anything else right now. Wow. So it's like Justin Bieber, I imagine in 10 to 20 years is going to be cool in that kind of way.
And he's got a lot of merch. So
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like Frank and Kendrick are Rolling Stones for now. I hope, because I just really love their music. So I hope they're going to be around for a long time, and still perform and make music like the Stones did forever.
Yeah.
Like, so I think I answered that question. I would personally be very happy if in 20 years my Frank Ocean t-shirt was collectible, but if it's not, I won't care because I love his music.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, you know, like in closing that usually we wrap up our episodes by asking our guests, like, you know, to give some sort of advice on how they got to where they are today. I think this episode would be really great if you left us with, like, you know, just your thoughts on music, what you like most about it today, and what you kind of miss.
So I have a friend, Tremaine. He once coined a phrase called the culture of caring. And I shortened that to the caring culture. And him and I talk about it a lot. Like, I am just compelled to do what I do. Like, I wake up and I can't do anything else. I can't. I'm completely and utterly unemployable. Like, if I don't know how anyone would hire me, possibly. And like, if people want advice out there, it's just it's really simple. Just take so much pride in what you do that, and be a stand for yourself in that. Detach yourself from the outcome. Don't, like, it's gonna, like, whatever you're left with or whatever the end piece is the end piece. And if you can somehow, like, there's a magic that happens when you can detach yourself from what you want to be the outcome to be, and also being a stand for the outcome that you want. There's this, again, it's like that liking to define myself in contradictions. It's, I very much have a way that I want, like, this t-shirt that no one can see because I'm talking about it, that I wanted this to look like. And so, but I detached myself from the outcome, and it looked completely different than what I wanted it, and this is an even better result. And just like, find your own process, find your own voice, and that will, all those things that you want an outcome to be, will happen effortlessly. Just love what you do. It sounds cheesy, but it's really, that's it. Like, don't accept anything else but, fuck, I don't want to say it. Now I just feel like I'm giving platitudes. It's not cheesy when it's authentic. Like cliches aren't cliches when they mean something to you. So it's weird. Not everyone is going to get to follow their dreams, right? But everyone has that opportunity. If that's what you want to do, is follow your dreams, then follow them, and don't let anyone else fucking tell you no.
Yeah, I mean, we look forward to seeing more of your shirts. And
thanks, man.
Yeah, man, keep doing your work.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you noticing.